Has he been behind me this whole time? That's amazing!
Oh my gosh, you did it!
That's freaking amazing! I'm Jay, YouTube's most lovable yapper, welcoming you to a very special episode of Furry Simulator 2, Too Fast, Too Furious. For those of you who didn't watch my most recent video, in which I burned my channel's mascots in the FNAF 6 fire, younger, fatter me talked at length about how much I love this franchise, and have since year one. That interest included pouring hundreds of hours into FNAF 1 on my Amazon Kindle Fire tablet that ran like absolute ass. I know I at least unlocked the ability to play the custom night, because I used to scare the crap out of my little brother with a 1987 Easter egg. I don't remember beating 420 mode, but I know I tried endlessly while still not really getting how Freddy's mechanics work. More on that later. I yap all this to say, I am a big FNAF fan, so I feel pretty darn qualified to say Five Nights at Freddy's in real time blows the original game out of the water. They move now?! So when I first heard about FNAF in real time, the only thing I'd seen advertised was the new animations. So downloading this game for my new PC was more out of sheer curiosity. Like, the first FNAF isn't something I'd exactly call fun to play, but it's a free download, and I could see the novelty of seeing them move around keep my attention span for a couple nights at least. Needless to say, I was hooked immediately. It's not just the OG with a fresh animated coat of paint slapped on, it's a revamped, reworked, rebuilt from the ground up, remastered FNAF 1. From the second you start the game, you're treated to an excellently done cutscene that immediately shows you that the developers are not playing around. It gives you a taste of the kind of quality you're in for right off the bat. And then, the menu screen. Absolutely incredible animations. Though I've gotta say, it's really funny that they use the same potato-textured models that Scott made in 2014 on a barely functional crap top, because while it's best for accuracy, the modern engine and lighting makes the shoddy texturing really friggin' obvious. Since I'll be spending most of the video absolutely glazing the scrumptious, freshly baked donut that is FNAF in real time, I'm going to list my few general grievances first to get them out of the way. There are very few. I have a couple general grievances with the minimap. When you spend $500 to unlock the ability to leave the pizzeria, you have access to a movie theater, a library, and a lake in the woods. They poured a ton of effort into these locations, clearly, but there's nothing to discover or interact with aside from one collectible drawing from each building. And you have to collect all of those to unlock the final ending, so I mean, at least there's that. There is this weird duck costume thing that's just Golden Freddy'd out behind the pizzeria for some reason, but the game doesn't really give any clues as to what this could be, or if it did, I just missed them completely. My biggest grievance with the minimap is the fact that you can't access the challenge modes outside of the That's their employment console, or FEC. This wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't all the way in the dining hall. So every time you fail, and you'll be doing that a lot on your quest to complete 420 mode, trust me, I know, every single time you fail, you have to walk back into the dining room, press E, hear Fazbear Employment Console, click Nights, scroll down, click Challenge 5, and then you can try again for the 87th consecutive time. Other than that, the minimap's super cool. Honestly, I have very little else negative to say. When I say this game is as perfect as FNAF 1 can be, I mean it. I just personally can't stand the inconsistency of the bullies when they're in your doorway. Even on max difficulty, they'll randomly alternate between giving you leniency when you don't close the door on them immediately, and giving you a split second before taking the extra step inside the office to end your run. This one's actually a late addition since I had to actively seek this out. I never had it happen to me naturally. You know, hashtag humble brag. When you run out of power, instead of Freddy appearing in your doorway, the entire band appears on both sides and sings you a song. And maybe it's just me, but I don't find it scary at all. It's quite possibly the one thing that the original game does better. That just about does it for the negatives. Let's move on to the gameplay. Prepare for the horrors, this night will keep repeating over and over and over until you bash your frickin' brains in. It might shock you to learn that, in addition to the animatronics not just teleporting around as much, they actually behave a little differently in this version. For one, they don't adhere to the arbitrary rules of who can go down which hallway. In OG FNAF, Bonnie and Chica attack exclusively from opposite hallways, Bonnie making his way across the left side of the map before trying to get in your left door, Chica coming from the right side on her way to your right door, and never the streams shall cross. Freddy across the right side, entering on the right, and only attacks from the left door when your power runs out. Foxy's stage is on the left side of the map, and can exclusively run down the left hallway to kill you. FNAF in Real Time decided that that's all arbitrary BS because they are haunted, vengeful, violent animatronics, and they don't play by your daddy's rules. In this version, much to my surprise when I first played, they can all attack from either door. It's completely random. They still have their general attack patterns, but they're always thinking, and they can go anywhere. Foxy's been revamped to work exclusively off of audio cues. If you have a good 3D sound setup, you can tell which hallway he's running down by listening closely, though it is safer and more consistent to just slam both doors when you hear him run. Thankfully, the FNAF movie is a thing that exists, so you'll usually hear him do his dum 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 diddly dum 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 diddly dum 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 diddly dum before he chooses a hallway to attack from. In quite possibly the biggest shakeup to the original, each night is a different experience with unique themes and names. Night 1, Showtime, is supremely easy. The only active animatronics are Bonnie and Chica, and it really just serves to get you acquainted with the pizzeria's updated look. Right off the bat, it's obvious that they've revamped the power system, allowing you to spend more time in the cameras admiring the animations. Speaking of, I'll go ahead and comment on this now. The animations are so freaking good. They capture the eeriness of the first game's atmosphere so insanely well, with slow, heavy movements befitting these old, possessed, conniving animatronics. This concept peaks from Night 5 onward when Freddy tweaks off the salts on camera. The erratic, janky movements feel very appropriate for an angry spirit trapped in an old, heavy bear robot. The animations work wonders to enhance the horror, not detract from it, like some other, shall we say, less favorable games I could mention. Like, just look at the difference in animation here. These aren't believable as animatronics, they're just 3D models squashed and stretched into high-energy dance moves. Indie Studio versus Steel Wool Studios, by the way. Side note, I've been playing FNAF in Real Time concurrently with my brother's playthrough of Security Breach over on Togata Game, and it's always so insanely depressing to go back and forth between absolute peak and abysmal Sparky the dog shit.
That's back. Right, okay.
Actually, run into the hallway.
Yep, and then...
Are you kidding me? I know you have a mechanic to look inside these things. I will say though, for the most part, Night 1 is supremely boring. The AI is so low that there aren't any real threats. I recorded myself beating it to use as B-roll footage here, and it felt like slacking off at a real job. I was just drinking my Sprite, watching T-Dreads on my phone, and generally not paying attention for most of the night. There was a really cool scripted event though. At about 5:30ish AM, the animatronics returned to the stage for an extremely glitchy Showtime sequence, before they all stepped off the stage to come after me. Logically, I knew that the night was almost over, and that they probably didn't actually pose a threat, but it was still really cool and served to shake up the repetitive and familiar formula really well. Night 2, Calm Before the Storm, has about the same level of stuff going on. This night is our introduction to this game's phone guy, who I thought I'd auditioned for.
Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach. But you will never find them. None of you will. This is where your story ends.
But apparently this game came out a couple months before that, and I was auditioning for something else? Also, I had no idea that this game's been out since December. I've been in quite the fog this year, so I must have missed it. I have no way of knowing if this was on purpose, but this night seemed to introduce the concept of the animatronics going to either door. Or maybe it was completely random. Either way, that's awesome, just slightly more awesome if it was intentional design. Night 3, Behind the Curtain, is so freaking cool. It's a straight up Foxy boss battle, which is the furthest thing from the traditional night gameplay loop style of the classic FNAF games, and it works. It's a scripted experience that plays on your preconceived notions of how Foxy is supposed to work. After he starts out with a traditional left hallway sprint attack, he changes up his attack pattern over and over, leaving you completely panicked and overwhelmed. Plus, the soundtrack absolutely rips. I'm just gonna play this snippet unedited so you can hear the sick beat drop.
The person you're trying to reach is no longer in service.
I always have a big dumb smile on my face when playing this. Overall, this night was just insanely good. I'm always an advocate for shaking up the formula, and this night might just be that concept at its peak. Night 4 Switch Up is the first night I'd consider hard. At my current skill level after grinding for 420 mode, I was able to just absent-mindedly click until like 2 AM when it started to pick up. But don't let that fool you! This took me a long time to beat. As the name implies, this night introduces the camera swapping mechanic. At random points throughout the night, a camera you switch to will be swapped with a different one, and you'll have to keep track of where the proper camera button's been moved to. In another brilliant switch-up of the original game's formula, this mechanic once again plays on your knowledge of the original map and uses that against you. It's like mirror mode on Mario Kart. The more familiar you are with the tracks, the more the muscle memory has set in, the harder it'll be for you. Which again, is why it took me so freaking long to beat. This night is also your proper introduction to Freddy's mechanics. Told you I'd have more on that later. I never fully grasped how he worked when I played the first game. I thought that once he reached your right door, you were screwed, and you just had to shut it for the rest of the night. I'd count his laughs to keep track of how long I had until I had to close the door. 1 laugh meant he'd left the stage, 2 meant he was in the bathroom, 3 was the kitchen, and so on. Thankfully, it's much easier to understand in this game. Just like the way he apparently worked in the first game, looking at Freddy on the cameras will hold him in place. This leads to an incredibly stressful gameplay loop of watching him, fending off Bonnie and Chica, and listening very closely for Foxy's audio cues. Ooh, I can't believe I almost forgot. They did something awesome on this night. The phone guy explains how he added 3 new cameras in between your shifts. Now you have a camera view of the front door, the kitchen, visible for the first time, which is awesome, and the freaking safe room. I lost my mind when I saw this for the first time. The 3 arcade cabinets and spring Bonnie toes in the corner make it unmistakable. This is the room that William Afton gets spring locked in. It's actually the coolest thing ever to see it fully realized here. I was geeking out so much. In Night 5, Freaky Friday, all Ultimate Custom Night breaks loose as you're forced to defend yourself from animatronic versions of Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis. And they have this whole body swap thing going on. It's a whole thing. It's a weird inclusion that just kinda muddies the lore, but I guess anything goes in the universe where Springtrap impregnated Matthew Patrick. Jokes aside, the difficulty level is stepped up significantly from Night 4. The cameras swap around way more often, which is always a confusing mess to deal with. Nothing else of note really, except for this cool Easter egg on the new front door camera. We're treated to a small animation of a familiar purple car pulling into the parking lot, the motorist arriving 4 hours past midnight. What, you thought we were done? Night 6 out of 5. Night of Misfits is obviously the next step up in difficulty, not really anything special to write home about. However, there's a really cool Easter egg / cameo from Sparky the dog, which was awesome. He appears in the right hallway for 1 animation and then never again, as far as I've seen, but it's still super cool. If you don't know who Sparky is, he was the first big FNAF hoax all the way back from the first game. People were swearing up and down that this reflection on the game over screen was a hidden dog animatronic called Sparky, and soon after, this photoshopped image made its rounds on the internet. Since then, he's been referenced many times by official FNAF media, including like 3 appearances in the FNAF movie, so it was really cool of them to pay homage like that. Those are all the canon nights as far as gameplay goes. There's a 7th night that's unlocked after you beat and unlock everything else, but that's just a cryptic ending cutscene and the credit sequence. Alright, rapid fire time. Gonna rattle off the challenge modes and what they entail. Bullies. It's just Chica and Bonnie on medium difficulty. Your camera is temporarily the most useless thing in your life. Don't look at me. It's just Foxy and Freddy on medium difficulty. They're usually the biggest challenges to watch out for, but without the constant annoyance of keeping tabs on Bonnie and Chica in your doorways, it's insanely easy to handle these 2 shy guys. Nightmare. A step up in difficulty from Night 6, made more obnoxious by the lights fading in and out with an accompanying alarm. The only thing this really affects is your ability to see the animatronics in your doorway. You just have to strain your eyes a little harder, but it's not too bad. This one's also only 3 minutes. 2020. Prepare your tender anus for 9 straight minutes of debilitating anxiety as this game demands constant perfection from your every move. Like all the games that came before, every animatronics AI is cranked to the max, and the tiniest screw-up is punished with having to do the whole thing over again. This took me like 3 days of intermittent attempts before clearing it, and I'll be compiling some of them into a video for my Epic Gamer channel. And last but certainly not least, we have the namesake for this game, 6-hour mode. 6 straight hours at Freddy's. I am so glad that it's over. Please go watch the VOD on this channel or the compilation video on Epic Gamer. Just please make my suffering worth it. This game is astounding. Hats off to the developers for creating something that's unquestionably leagues better than the original. I think I've finally run out of stuff to yap about. Bye guys, I'll see you when I see you.
Hello? What on earth are you still doing here? Didn't you get the memo? I'm done yapping, at least for a while. Until I feel like yapping again. But, if you want to, you can always go to my gaming channel, Epic Gamer. I know, it's cringe, but it makes me laugh, and I want to make you laugh, There's also Togata Game, the joint gaming channel with my brother. Your support would be greatly appreciated. Not that it's expected or anything. I'm not implying that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Good night.